everyone, welcome back to I Miss My Cheeseburger. I missed you last week because we had this big snow ice event and our hot water heater went out, and I spent a good portion of the week heating water on the stove to do dishes and for taking a shower. So it was a crazy week and I missed you, but I'm back and I'm excited because this is one of my new favorite recipes. We eat this, I almost want to say once a week, but not quite. And that is vegan stew. Okay, so let's get started. I just want to tell you that I'm wearing my glasses, so if there's a little bit of a glare, I'm sorry, I apologize for that, but I don't want to chop my finger off. So I'm going to wear them so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so I got the idea for this recipe from this magazine. It is the Better Homes and Gardens plant-based. Now I will say not everything in here is vegan, but almost everything is vegetarian, so you can easily make it vegan. But this is the photo of the stew, which looks super yummy. And we used to eat stew quite often, especially on the weekends after church. We used to love to go hiking. We still do some, but you know, with the pandemic, it's just been hard. And our favorite area got burned by the fire and we haven't been able to get back up there yet. So at any rate, we would love to go out and then come home and you're just really hungry and you want something warm and hearty. And so I would always just toss everything in my crock pot and have beef stew when we got home. So I was kind of bummed thinking we'd never have beef stew, but then I found this recipe and kind of tweaked it to make it my own. And so I'm gonna share it with you today. Super easy. You can do it in a crock pot, just set it on 6 hours on low, which would totally be fine. Or you could do it in a Dutch oven. I have a Dutch oven, but it's cast iron and that thing is huge, so I don't use it very often. This time, I don't want to make a ton of this. I don't really want to have any leftovers, so I'm just going to do it in my pot right here on the stovetop. So it's pretty versatile. You can mix it up and do it however you like. All right, so I have about 12 of these potatoes. I actually quartered them, and now I'm just going to throw them in the pan. Next up is onion. Now you can use a sweet onion and just cut it into some big chunks, or if they happen to have these and they're in season, these are cipollini onions. I've also heard them pronounced cipollini onions. They're kind of an heirloom from Italy. Now these are amazing. When they're cooked, they almost have like a little buttery flavor. So you just want to cut these in quarters and peel them and add them to the pot. If you don't have a pair of these onion goggles, you definitely need to get some. You can find them on Amazon. I have really sensitive dry eyes and my eyes just water like crazy when I do onions, and I don't have a tear in my eye right now, so they're pretty awesome. 1 small sweet onion chopped up, peeled and chopped, or 6 of the small cipollini onions also peeled and chopped. Next thing on the list is garlic. I love a lot of garlic in mine, so I usually put about 6 whole cloves in there. I like to put a little bit of ginger. So this is probably just a little 2-inch piece, and I'm gonna grate it in here. You can actually just cut this into chunks and put it in there, but if you happen to get a bite of this while you're eating your stew, it can be a little bit spicy, and the girls don't really care for that. So I'm just gonna grate this up in here. All right, so there's our ginger. Next up on the list is celery. I usually put in 2 small pieces or 1 large piece. 2 celery stalks. Mr. Cheeseburger loves sweet potato. They didn't have any of the red garnet, so this is just a golden sweet potato. Here's my sweet potato ready to go. Okay, so the next thing on the list is carrot, and I usually go overboard with the carrot. One of my daughters isn't a huge potato fan, but she loves the carrot in here, and so I usually do a little extra for her. So wash and peel your carrots. Okay, 3 medium-sized carrots peeled and chopped, and as you can see, I left these fairly large and chunky. To me, smaller pieces is more like what you would have in a soup, and so I just make mine a little bit chunkier. Now we are down to some seasonings, and I want to talk to you about both of these. I may have mentioned these to you before. These are Better Than Bouillon. This is a roasted garlic base. So good. When you roast garlic, it becomes kind of buttery and really mellow and gives really good depth of flavor. And then this is the seasoned vegetable base, which is vegan. And this is really, really good. Now, it's a little bit salty, and so when I'm cooking with this, I typically don't use any salt. But these are gonna help add a lot of depth of flavor to these. Smells so good. So I'm just gonna use about a teaspoon, like kind of a heaping teaspoon. And I know that I already put a bunch of garlic cloves in here, but I'm also going to use a little bit of this. Okay, so the next thing that we want to add in here are some spices. Now, I always use some fresh rosemary. Probably going to end up being about almost a tablespoon rosemary in. Next thing I like to do is a little bit of I always call it oregano because that's what they call it in England. Oregano. To put a bit of oregano, and again, this is about a tablespoon. And the last thing that I like to put in is some thyme, tablespoon of thyme. Now I do just a little bit of pepper. Now, one of the things that makes my stew distinct to my family is the red wine vinegar. You could use regular red wine if you want. I just use a little tiny bit of this, like maybe that much. I'm guessing that's probably about 2 tablespoons, somewhere right in there. So this is the next ingredient. So this is mushroom broth. The only place that I have found this is at New Seasons, and it adds so much depth of flavor, really good, hearty, earthy taste. Love this. You could make this with vegetable broth, but I feel like that makes it more soupy, like a soup flavor than the actual like depth of flavor that you have when you do a stew. And because you're not getting any of your flavor and fat from the meat, you definitely want to kind of ramp things up in the seasoning department. So you definitely want to give this a little bit of a shake. You can see how dark it is. It's got little flecks of mushroom in it. I don't like the way it splashes. So there's 2 cups. And I'm probably going to do about 2 more cups. So about 4 cups altogether. Now, if you're wanting to have leftovers or you have more in your family, definitely add more of the vegetables, and then I would do probably 6 cups of the broth. Okay, we are almost done. Now, these are your meat substitute. This is a big, old, fabulous portobello mushroom, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna set these right on the top. They've already been cleaned, and I trimmed a little bit of the stem off. This one's a little bit fatter. Now, what is so amazing about these is that they are really hearty. And if you didn't catch my video on protein, you definitely want to check that out because mushrooms are actually a complete protein. And so not only is this a hearty dish, but you're also going to get a big dose of protein as well. And when these cook up, they stay together. They stay really firm. In fact, you have to cut them with a knife, just like you would meat. And so those just kind of sit on the top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the lid on this, and we're going to bring it to a boil. And then we're gonna simmer it for about 3 hours. Very end, I'm gonna add a little bit of cornstarch. Typically from the meat, the fat that's in the meat, you know, it kind of makes everything get thick and you get like a little gravy. That doesn't happen with this. So I just take a little bit of this juice that's in here and I mix it with a little bit of cornstarch. And then while I'm slicing up the mushrooms, it has a chance to kind of thicken a little bit. So I'll see you in about 3 hours. Okay, so it's been about 3.5 hours. Our stew is finished. You can see that the mushrooms are still intact. It smells amazing in here. I wish you could smell it. So I'm just gonna get this all ready to plate it up. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull these mushrooms out of here, and you can see that they have held up really well. They don't fall apart. If I can get this guy. Ooh, he's gonna be stubborn. Oh. A little bit of the broth out of here, and I'm just gonna make a little bit of a slurry. So I'm gonna add, so I probably have about a quarter, maybe between a quarter and a half a cup, and I'm just gonna add about a tablespoon of cornstarch to this. Slurry here, and now I'm just gonna dump this right in here. And then I'm gonna give this a little bit of a stir. And I try not to make these too small of pieces. I like to have them a little bit kind of big and chunky, you know, like you would a piece of meat. All right, so we've got our mushrooms sliced. This is definitely thickened up a little bit here, so I'm gonna go ahead and plate some of this out. And I just use a big old ladle. Smells so good. And then you wanna leave a little room on top for your mushrooms. I'm just gonna set that right there, and I'm just gonna take a number of slices. Usually about, I find that Mr. Cheeseburger eats a whole mushroom in his. I usually like a half. The girls tend to do a half as well. They're actually really filling. Now, something that you have to have with these is a really good hearty bread, because you're definitely gonna wanna sop up all of the juice at the bottom. So these are just some really good crusty ciabatta rolls. Portland French Bakery also makes an amazing sourdough dinner roll that is really great with this as well. You just pop them in the oven for a quick sec. So this looks pretty amazing. It's got a really good depth of flavor. It's just very rich and hearty. On a cold winter day, this is just the thing that you need. Don't want to miss out on this. And as you can see, Chuck really loves his. I wish you could be here to smell it. It smells so amazing. Maybe one of these days we can all get together and have a big hearty bowl of stew together. All right, that's it for this time. I will see you next week. Thanks for joining in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my page. I'll see you next week. Bye. Oh my gosh, what are those called? What is it I have? What is that big pot? Okay. Surprised at the meat stubs.
Guess his gut test got postponed once again.
Oh, hey, I'm trying to video. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Are you coming down to get a snack?
No, I was coming down to bring some dishes down.
Oh, just put them on the table. Yeah. Thank you. Hi. Oh, don't do that. I'll get really nervous. I just love that you can throw everything in the pot and not even like have to think twice about it. If I can get the lid off.